I've worked for Cigar Aficionado since 1995, and I have to say it's hard at times, especially this week's been a really busy, crazy week leading up to the PCA trade show. But man, I love my work. It's fantastic. It's there's great people in the cigar industry. I love what I do. I'm a very lucky man, and thanks to Marvin Shanken for starting Cigar Aficionado in 1992, and thanks very much to Marvin for hiring me in 1995.
Amen to that. I wouldn't be in the business. I don't think I'd be in the business if it wasn't for Marvin Shanken. I started smoking premium cigars in the early 90s, picked up a magazine, fell in love. I didn't know that culture existed, and fell in love with it. Read every magazine cover to cover. I think back then they were only coming out quarterly. Is that right?
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for the next magazine to come, and it was just loaded, and they still are, just loaded with knowledge. I learned so much just reading a magazine, not just about the culture, but about the process, about the manufacturers, about the cigars, everything. It was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. I thank God for Marvin Shanken and Cigar Aficionado, because I don't know how my life would be today if it wasn't for that magazine. And I say this in all honesty, it was really the beginning of my falling in love with premium cigars as I did.
I was in your shoes too. I mean, I was a reader of Cigar Aficionado before I worked there, and I remember seeing. I found it from an ad in the New York Times. I saw an ad. It was actually for his interview with Fidel Castro, and I said, "My God, who got an interview with Fidel Castro? And what is this magazine about cigars?" So I bought the magazine, fell in love with it, and I said, "I've got to work at this place." So I started harassing them for a phone call, for an interview. I wanted to get an assignment. I got a story assignment after beating down their door and driving them nuts. And I did a freelance piece, and then when they were hiring, I got my foot in the door, and they haven't kicked me out yet.
So you started, do you remember what that first piece was?
Yes, it was a story called Smoking in the Boardroom. It appeared in the Jack Nicholson issue in early 1995. And it was about CEOs who smoked. I was a business writer before joining Cigar Aficionado, and I said, well, you get that stereotypical image of the boss with a big cigar in his hand, so why not do a story about some prominent CEOs? And they liked the idea. They expanded upon my idea, and I was off to the races.
That's pretty good. Which year did you go full time?
It was later that year in 1995. So the first story appeared in 95. I think I wrote it at the either the beginning of the year or at the end of 94. I can't remember exactly. And I started working there. The issue that had just come out when I joined the company was the Linda Evangelista issue. And I started there in the summer of 1995. Actually, I was hired by the company. I got there, got into my office, got situated, I brought cigars to Cigar Aficionado on my first day. They thought I was crazy. I showed up with a box of cigars and an ashtray, and they, what does this guy do? You don't have to buy cigars. We have plenty of cigars here. Trust us. And the next week they sent me to the Tobacco Industry Trade Show, which is now known as the PCA.
Yep.
That time it was known as the RTDA, Retail Tobacco Dealers of America. So I was kind of thrown right into the mix, and I was, meeting the cigar industry right there from my second week on the job, which is great.